The oldest sister, Mary, was married and had a daughter before Georgie was born. Brother John, who was right after Mary, was much older than George. George was a baby. I was next, 17. Debbie was 16, Sandra, 12, and Lydia about 8. And then Georgie. We spoiled him terrible.
We got him whatever he wanted, and if he did something wrong and my mother was chasing him, we would get between him and my mother. Ma, go sit down, leave him alone.
George was born in a family where 2 languages were spoken. Greek. My mother spoke a lot of Greek in the house. Papa spoke English because he worked in the restaurant. Of course, by then, all the sisters were around, so we spoke English. George did not speak a word or make a sentence until he was 4 years old. We used to take him to doctors. We were worried. Why isn't this kid speaking? Well, the doctor, we should have realized it. The doctor said, he is confused. He doesn't know which language he wants to speak. Of course, he picked English. But he was very good in Greek, learned Italian. When he was in Rome, he learned Italian quickly. He was very quick.
I'd come home from school, and where would you find him? He'd be in the sun porch. We had a lovely sun porch on the first floor. And he'd be there in the sun porch, and he's creating these houses or these buildings and making little villages and things like that. And he would make all these things. And my mother would say, could you please go outside and play? You never make a hole in your pants like everybody else. Go out and play. No, I don't want to go play. He never went out and play. He would rather sit in the house and draw.
We all do stuff. We all make things and whatever, what have you. But he was so young. And I said to myself, oh, he's going to be like my Aunt Lydia, who was in Greece. She was a nun. She used to make icons, religious icons, with decoupage, but she would put them in a beautiful box with flowers, and there'd be the cross with Jesus. When I used to see Georgie drawing that early, I'd say, he's the artist of the family. And he was.
So at 4 years old, when my mother went to Greece, we needed a babysitter. I had to take him to work with me. I worked in a beauty shop, walking distance from my home. Took Georgie to work with me every morning for a month. I brought coloring books, I brought construction paper, colored pencils, and he sat in that corner all day. Drew my customers and me. I wish I had some of those pictures now with some of those drawings. He drew, colored, he was wonderful. He was quiet, everybody loved him. We used to think of him as a house devil, company angel. He was wonderful with other people. If we went visiting, you could take him anywhere. But at home, he had a few peculiarities. He used to be kind of fresh.
One time when we went to the beach with relatives, we were all lying down on the sheets, and your mother got up and she said, "Where's Georgie?" We all got up and we're looking. He had got lost. We thought he got lost. But then we were looking and he was way down on the beach, and he was just sitting there like looking and laughing,
I think if he was a brat or if he was mean or things like that, I'd remember. But he must have been a good kid.
When George was going to school, to high school, he was up in the 3rd floor. He had his own room. His easel was up there, and all his drawing utensils were up there. Oh, he just loved it. He directed plays at the high school. One was Bye Bye Birdie. It was beautiful. And he did a lot of the backdrop murals for the play and other plays they had. And even at the church, if the church was having a Christmas, the Nativity, George did the backdrops for that. He was up probably till 4 a.m, finishing that project. It was beautiful, but that's what he did all the time.
I belonged to the Junior Women's Club. And while I was in that club, I found out that the Federation of Women Voters was having a contest. And the theme was reading. What they were trying to do was get out these posters from young artists about reading and the importance of reading. So I came home with the application, told George all about it. I said, you have 6 months, George. And knowing George, I had to keep reminding him. 3 months, George. 2 months, George. Well, the drawing had to be at the State House at noon this particular day. George is running up the steps of the State House at 11:15. Brought his drawing in just in time, won first prize, $1,000. But that was George, and he was like that until the end with his work. Getting away from home, he got to Rhode Island School of Design. I felt, and my sisters, a couple of my sisters felt the same way. He just didn't seem to need us. Then he goes to Rome, and he wrote beautiful letters, and I just couldn't believe it. How much he wanted his family, how much he needed his family. He said when he got to Rome, he would be walking down the street, and he would say, gee, she looks like Mama, and look at that one, she looks like Debbie.
When he was in Rome, he says, you know, Sandra, as I get older, I get closer to the family. And you know, I think because I've had experience with so many people, I'm beginning to realize what a wonderful family I have. And I love everybody.
From 75 to 85, we were living in Brazil. Once a year, you got a home leave, and we would come home at Christmas time, only because in Brazil, there was no Christmas. Everybody used to go to the beach. So I'll never forget the first Christmas, we bought what was a Christmas tree. And by the time Christmas came, the poor thing was limp. So we said, okay, we tried it, no more. We're going to be going home for home leave. So we used to go home on home leave, and then we always made it a point to visit George in New York.
George had a lot of class. We found that out when we would visit him in New York. He knew how to do things. He got us tickets for an off-Broadway show. Now, I didn't know what it was. My husband didn't know what show it was. We picked up the tickets from his apartment, went to the theater, going for our seats, and I look at the stage. The curtains are drawn. There's no curtain. Beauty shop set up on the stage. Steel Magnolias. He got us tickets for Steel Magnolias.
He was an altar boy. He loved it. He was there for years. And my mother thought he was going to become a priest. So I'll never forget the time when my mother and I went to New York because George wanted her to show him how to make stuffed grape leaves and stuffed peppers. So the whole day of Saturday, my mother showed him exactly what he had to do. And on Sunday when we were getting ready to leave, and my mother said, George, I thought you were going to become a priest. That would have been better for you. I said, Ma, he's famous, and you wanted him to be a priest.
My son Anthony was moving to New York. So George more or less took him under his wing. And on Sunday mornings, Anthony would buy the New York Times, go sit in Central Park, and see what Bergdorf Goodman ad was. He loved to see them. And then he would tell all his friends, this is my uncle. This is my uncle. And he was very proud of him.
And that's when he had all of their illustration, their fashion illustrations in the Sunday papers. And I remember my father saying, boy, it looks as if those people will talk to you. And look at how nice the material is. Like, you can feel that it's silk or it's corduroy. My father loved it, you know? He was so proud of George. I remember one Christmas card that Papu sent to George, wishing him a happy, holiday. And he said, George, you have given the Stavrinos name so much pride, and you've given me so much to look forward to in life. He said, in fact, I don't think I want to die. I want to see everything that you're going to do.
My brother-in-law lives in New York, 62nd Street. That's what it is, 62nd Street. Lovely apartment. And he said, you know, there's an illustrator's museum right down the block from here. Why don't we take a walk? So we did. So we went to the museum and we looked outside, very nice building. There was a girl sitting at the desk, and John says to her, does the name George Stavrinos mean anything to you? I thought she was going to drop her teeth. She says, where have you people been? We have been looking for you.
We were all so proud, and I knew Georgie would not believe that he was inducted into the Hall of Fame with Maxfield Parrish, with Leyendecker, Norman Rockwell. They were all members of the Hall of Fame. And I'm sure he would have said, wow, I'm next to Maxfield Parrish. He loved Maxfield Parrish's work.
And there was George Stavrinos' name. Well, we all got a little bit shaky, but anyway, it was lovely.
But thinking back, I think this is the way George would want it. Because when Sandra was cleaning out his desk in New York, she called and said there was a drawer full of awards, ribbons, awards, letters of about his drawings that we did not know about. He wasn't the type that boasted.
The loss was great, of course, to us, the girls, because we helped raise him. You know, we helped raise him, and he was our kid brother. I know my mother didn't like him drawing every so often, but after a while she accepted it. She liked it. I'll never forget when we buried George. She looked up at the sky and said, let him draw all he wants. It's okay, it's okay. You know, I'll never forget those words.
I feel very badly for the young people and the fashion world. They lost a lot. They lost a lot. When I look at those drawings now, they lost a lot.
If you walk in my house, all you do is see George. George is all around. So you see, we see him every day. He's still there. He's still there. And he's looking down at us, and we have to say, okay, George, okay, be good. We're okay.
I talk to him every day anyway. Today, before I left, I said, George, you got to help me when I get there. Help me, it's what I cannot say. Every day I talk to him. His pictures are all over the house, his photos of him, and I talk to him every day. He was a wonderful brother.